FreeBSD reviews, tutorials and gaming.
For the example of installation, I'm installing onto a Virtualbox, but the main PC itself and the rest of the video takes part on bare metal, which is my regular everyday desktop. Installation process hasn't really changed much in FreeBSD. Going down the usual key map selection is easy. No new additions to report really. Okay, United Kingdom, test it, yep, right. Setting a host name is the same as always. And also looking at the components that you want to install. We'll go lib32, ports and source. Alright. Auto UFS, use the entire disk, and install to GPT. And there we go. It's fairly straightforward as the installation process in FreeBSD. A lot of people don't like it because it's off-putting, because it's not really graphical, but you know, it does its job, it's functional. Right. Now we're getting there. It's because you're only ever installing the base OS on FreeBSD, the installation will not take a long time. I think the largest wait time is for the source to extract. We're getting there. I mean, of course, if I was installing to an SSD, then it would be immeasurably quicker. Right, setting up the system password, retype it. Right, networking is straightforward, IPv4, DHCP, yep. Again, everything's basically, if you've installed previous versions of FreeBSD, you'll know what what's involved. Let's go through all the various knickknacks. 192.168. So select United Kingdom, GMT, yep, set date, set time, and the services which you would like at boot. Yeah. Dump dev looks new, but it might not be. Now this is an interesting section. This is one of the new additions, a hardening screen as such. I mean, many of these things can be done manually with additions to rc.conf, like clearing the temp file and disabling send mail, but it's good to have them on the actual installation screen, because, well, for one thing, you may forget to add them on later on, and you don't want them running in the background if you don't need them. But yeah, it's very good. I like it. It's a good addition, and I think the FreeBSD devs should be applauded for including it, I think. I don't know where it leaves it in relation to hardened BSD, which is FreeBSD with security baked in, as it were. I don't know if this puts it on par with that, or it makes their release, I don't know, redundant. But it's an interesting addition. It's something that's welcomed anyway. Right, add users. With the usual user and password addition screen. Go for all the basics. It's like this was created for the virtual machine. The bare metal installation has slightly different details. It's all fairly straightforward. I mean, once you've done it, you know how to do it again and again and again. Okie doke, yep. Again. Now that's it. And installation is now complete. We'll reboot the system, and when we come back, it'll actually be running on the bare metal desktop computer. Like I said, the virtual machine was just for demonstration purposes, showing you how to install. as any new OS release, there are changes from the previous one, and FreeBSD is no exception. The two major noticeable ones that spring out to me is Clang and associated tools, and Beehive. They're the two ones that have big changes. Followed by OpenSSL and OpenSSH, which have been updated equally. The VT driver updates, which is always welcome, performance improvements and clearer text fonts, etc., and a few other stuff. And PF packet filter, usable within jails. That's also a very welcome addition. BSD installed now supports UEFI and GELI, and improved UFS FFS for trim, which is always handy. And NFS version 4.1 server now includes PNFS server support, which is brilliant. Obviously, for more information than I can cover on here, and also lesser changes, you can visit the FreeBSD 12 announcement page. NVIDIA driver, the latest version at the time of installation was 390.87, and that installed without a hitch. It's the usual way of installing. And sound, I had no problem at all with sound. It detected the sound card, an AAC 867, with no problem at all. Didn't even have to load the driver in, did it automatically. When trying a USB free stick, that was detected straight away, and the network controller worked out of the box. All storage was detected. There was no problems detecting any of the more obscure ones, and my old PS3 webcam was also detected. Access to different file systems was available via the NTFS3G and FuseFS suite, of course, as always. And here is it's just kind of like a little summary of what's going on with the system activity. I'm going to use VMstat, top, IOstat, and GStat. If you want to fast forward this bit to get to the more juicier parts, then fine. Or if you like statistics and watching numbers scroll, it's not overly long, I don't linger on it, but if you don't want to watch this bit, then just fast forward a little till about 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, overall, the impression that I get from this is that FreeBSD is resource friendly. It's not going to hog your system. There are no background activities that you don't approve of, that you're not knowing of. So, for instance, System D, and it may appear to some Linux users that, oh, there's a lot of memory being used. Well, it handles memory slightly different to Linux in that FreeBSD attitude is any spare memory is wasted memory, and it will use all the memory it can to get the system going nicely. Sometimes it will reserve memory as cache for just in case you want to start up a large, say for instance, Office suite immediately after closing it, or it will put it to a side for just system overall, for want of a better word, smoothness. But I'm looking at these and I'm saying it's not hammering the hard drives, it's not hammering the processors. I mean, for a desktop that should be the case. I'm running it on a desktop / workstation. I do some heavy stuff on this. But at the moment the only thing running is simple stream recorder. Systat, I'll try that. Again, this is just a semi-graphical representation of what you've just seen. Yeah, everything's nice and smooth. Overall, with FreeBSD, I found, because, unlike, say, for instance, GhostBSD, which kind of emphasizes that you use ZFS, and it throws in a lot of heavy system resources from the start. FreeBSD allows you to build a system that suits your needs better. You're starting from nothing. And so, like for instance, I'm using UFS as a desktop file system. That is a lot lighter on resources, and it's not going to hammer your hard drive as much. But you know, it's all good. There's my disk file structure. That's how it's laid out. A couple of NFS mounts. GStat's an interesting one because it will give you a real-time evaluation of what's going on with your hard drives and storage medium. It's a very handy tool actually, is GStat. So yeah, not too bad. Again, if this was done on a server or something while I was rendering a video or something similar heavy, or even just compiling some ports, I would imagine the statistics would be slightly different. But as it is now, there's not much going on. And that'll do, I think. If you've watched this far, then congratulations. Just going to show you in this section an example or two of the different desktops that you can get for FreeBSD, same as you can on Linux. Installation is easy for those who have followed FreeBSD and know how to do it. I'm not going to show you how to install, but just to suffice to say that whatever you can do in Linux, in the best of the desktops, you can do in FreeBSD. There is no difference whatsoever. I'm not one for fancy desktops, but this is my attempt to try and show you. And I will be showing you KDE, a little bit of Mate, and my favourite MWM. Right, we're just going to bring up NeoFetch. That will display some of the system information just to prove that I'm not on a virtual machine. There you go. I'll just adjust it. If you wonder about the backgrounds changing, I've got it set on, I can't remember the name of the wallpaper that you can select in KDE, but it automatically changes colour, cycles through the different colours, and which is pretty cool, Christmassy effect, I think, which is very very apt for this time of the year. So you see it's KDE Plasma. I've got a few installed applications, some Wine ones, some Linux ones. Bring up the main menu, it works the same as any other Plasma desktop. There's no difference really. I'm not an expert on Plasma. I actually like Plasma, which for me is something. I prefer the more lightweight window manager. But Plasma is pretty cool. I like it. It's got all the usual things, some ones that I've installed, all the usual applications that come with Plasma. There's nothing much to say about that. Inkscape starts up. So you've got all the range of pedigree Office applications and multimedia applications in FreeBSD as you do in Linux. No difference. You're seeing the desktop as it is because it's split across two monitors. They're fairly old monitors, 1280 by 1024 resolution, so not massive but still good enough for me. I like the fact that two monitors can split the workflow and have two different separate wallpapers on each one if you wish. KDE Plasma is cool, and it is, but I prefer Motif Window Manager. Yeah, I also do like Inkscape. Oh, I'm going to save that. Nope. Right. Right, just open this. I'm just going to show you an example of if I can spell it right. Top. I'll just make it a bit bigger, I think, just so you can see it. Stretch it out. No, shrink it down. That's better. I'm losing. Oh, that's okay. Well, this is an example of what's going on with the system. It's hard to read because it does crunch it up, but that's better. So just about over 1.1 gig being used. Plasma is not the most resource friendly desktop you can have, that's for sure, but it's very configurable and you can make it into anything you want. I'm still not used to using that, but you know, I have to try and keep some people happy who think that maybe FreeBSD doesn't have a desktop, or at least doesn't have a modern one, because I never show modern desktops. I just show Motif Window Manager, and people may think or get the wrong impression that that's all it's got, but it hasn't. It has got all the latest things as well. So yes, you can various knickknacks that you can customize and configure as per usual. Yeah, just go around that one, and there's the system information direct from KDE. It's a bit small, but if you can make it out. And there's just various information about memory and disk usage, etc. It's just basically a graphical version of what we were showing you earlier about VMstat and IOstat and etc. Right, I'm switching to OBS and on a single desktop screen, and as you can see, I've actually got the webcam up and going, and that's not a fireplace or a storage heater. That's actually the front grille of my main workstation PC. I'm just going to scroll up to the camera. It's Cooler Master case. It's got AMD. It's got a little card reader where the floppy disk was. It's got openable. It's got a DVD, Blu-ray at the top, and some ports at the top. It's got a DVD writer. It's got a swap drive, which is what I use when I'm using real hard drives to install what OSs I'm testing. Couldn't think of the word then. And that's where the card reader in the floppy is. And I've got a spare one down there, which I might put a temperature meter on. So that is what the front of my PC looking like, just to test my webcam, and it works. So I'm quite pleased by that. OBS works, webcams work. So far, FreeBSD is pretty solid for me. Wine works without a hitch. I can put TextMaker and FreeOffice on it, and I can also run the Linux version, which I've done in a previous video. And I'm going to show you the process in which I edit using Kden Live. That's this actual video. This is early on in the video's kind of conception. I like to make my videos quite complicated. It's fairly basic at the moment, but once it's finished, there's pieces everywhere and things stuck up and transitions and all sorts of doobries and After Effects. So there's a quick glimpse of behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a sweet desktop and it runs very smoothly. Everything that Linux has got. Okay, we haven't got Steam and Netflix don't run, but you know, it's not the end of the world, and if you use your computer for working and getting things done, it doesn't matter in the slightest. Besides, I've always got my PS4 to cover Netflix and playing games, and that runs FreeBSD as well. Background's just changed, very nice. Still not used to that. So OBS, yeah, OBS runs perfectly fine in this. Right, we're going to switch to Mate, of course, plain background because I really haven't customized it up. But as you can see, running on an octa-core system. It's an AMD FX 8350, I think. 32 gigabytes of RAM. There's the release of FreeBSD. So yeah, they're running programs in the background, so it works flawlessly on whichever desktop I put it on. OBS again is running in the corner just to prove it, and there's a disk usage, some system stats. It's just a different way of getting what we've seen before again. Now you might prefer the more graphical version. It's reported in memory as 1.6 gigabytes. That might technically not be true, or it might be just left over from previous switching from the desktops from KDE. So there's still some KDE libraries left in, because all I did was shut down the X server and just change the xinit file. And of course we're changing to my favourite, which is Motif Window Manager. A very lightweight window manager in my opinion. It's quite old, but you know, sometimes as old as are alright, even though we're past it in the eyes of others. LibreOffice starts up. There's a certain amount of lag. That's down to simple screen recorder's lag. Actually on the system when I launched it up, it was as quick as you could want it to be. Again, back on my MWM. So yeah, whichever desktop you put on FreeBSD, it will work just fine. One of the most daily used programs I have on a FreeBSD machine is MIF TV, which I have running on a dedicated FreeBSD MIF TV front end in the living room. It connects to an Ubuntu MIF TV server, but the front end is FreeBSD, and this is I'm running on my desktop computer, but it's exactly the same as what you get on the dedicated MIF TV front end. And it's pretty comprehensive, and it runs very smoothly on FreeBSD. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's something that gets used a lot. I store all my videos on it, watch recordings, live TV. It's absolutely brilliant. I recommend it for anyone who needs some streaming TV. OctoPKG is perhaps the standard GUI package management system for FreeBSD and FreeBSD derivatives. It's especially true on TrueOS and GhostBSD. On FreeBSD it acts in the same way. You refresh the database, you get a list of installed programs. Here's the list. And if you want to search for a new we'll upgrade first. Pressing upgrade will just bring you a list of all the entire upgrades that are available. I'm not going to upgrade them at this time. No, it's just telling me they're upgradable because I built many of them with ports and changed some of the default options, and it tends not to like that very much and tells you to upgrade to the standard ones. If you want to search for something that's not installed, yeah, click on that one. The little planet will bring in the list from the online repositories for FreeBSD. Now, there you are. So Firefox is available. We've got Firefox 60.3, is it? Yeah. So if you just right click, install. I'm not going to go for a rundown into how you install exactly everything, because I can always make another video on that if you wish. But yeah, you just do normal password in and it should start installing. There we are. All done. And just to show you, I'll start up Firefox. And there we go. Firefox install, and it's as simple as that. I do prefer the command line, but if you must use a GUI, then octopkg is the way to go. It's always an interesting thing to hear the final thoughts on a review of a piece of software or an operating system, because many of the opinions you'll hear are just purely subjective, and of course they have to be, really. The rest of the video is the one that should place the facts in front of your eyes. But in this instance, I'm going to say that FreeBSD is a wonderful operating system. I've used it for many years, 10 plus years now, and apart from a slight hiccup in 11.2 when they had an issue with the NVIDIA drivers, it's been plain sailing all these years. FreeBSD 12 carries on that tradition. It's a wonderful addition to the FreeBSD family. I've been using it now since release date, which was now a week ago, at the date of this recording, and it's proven itself to be reliable and stable. On the desktop, I have done everything I always usually do. Transferred all the data, backed up the data before I upgraded, did a clean install. I always do a clean install, force of habit really, but I backed up all the important information in the settings and installed, then re-imported them in. The system is as it was before I upgraded, and everything is nice and smooth. The applications or the programs that you can load into FreeBSD are as reliable as always. A fantastic job there by the developers and the port maintainers. And there is a certain satisfaction to know that while there may be change for sake of change in the Linux world, you know, some distributions like to test out new pieces of technology and software and royally mess things up. FreeBSD is something which is steady. It's developing, you get changes, but they are at a glacial speed. They're slow but steady and sure. That's not to say that the third party, you know, the userland applications are stale and old. Far from it, because the base OS and the userland are two separate things in FreeBSD. In Linux they're all in one, but they're two separate things in FreeBSD, and the core OS is as stable and as secure and as safe as it can be, whereas the userland can be as up to date as you want it to be. It all depends on your preference. Ports tree and the package tree that comes with the distribution, or you can port snap a latest version and be up there with all the new releases. It all depends on what you want. But I think that's the flexibility of FreeBSD which I love. It can be what you want. It's not shoehorned into a box or a pigeonhole and told this is what this does, you must do it that way. It's none of that. And FreeBSD is truly free, and I think that's fantastic. Its license, its philosophy and its implementation are all free, and you can't ask for better than that. But my time with 12 so far has been wonderful. I've encountered no problems, and I would advocate that if it's your first time using FreeBSD or you haven't used FreeBSD for a long time, load in FreeBSD 12 and you won't be disappointed. The new security measures during the install are a wonderful touch. So yeah, I would say that FreeBSD 12 for me, and I think for you as well if you try it, has been a resounding success. I'm looking forward to seeing 12.1. Okay, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.